good morning, good evening, good afternoon, when or wherever you may be. Now, let's talk a bit about what has been happening in Minnesota with all of these ICE occupations and ICE invasions and ICE civil offenses. The first thing I'm going to talk with you about is this. Have you talked about with a black neighbor or a black friend or even a black person that you know? Have you talked with them about the American dream? An honest question. When were they ever included in the American dream? Have you talked with some poor white person? Okay, white trash, like you like to say. I don't like those words. I don't like trash associated with any human species or ethnicity. But have you talked about them, about the American dream? Have you gone down to Appalachia and talked with them about the American dream? Have you gone to a ghetto anywhere and talked with them about the American dream? How has that worked out for them? Because I know a majority of Americans that's worked out uh, apparently to them. They sit in the suburbs. They used to be able to afford a house, a car, no vacation, all of that. And right now, they are only questioning that American dream because it's happening to them. Because white people are getting shot in protests. There used to be a time when there were protests in the United States, seldom would you find a white person to be shot or to be beaten or whatever. Many of them would also be arrested. And look, I'm not claiming that it only happens to dark-skinned people or whatever or ethnic minorities. I'm not claiming that. Okay, I'm saying the different ways of being treated. Okay, because in the United States, there used to be a time that unless you were clearly drunk or combative, like they like to say, or on drugs or whatever, if you were white, seldom anything would happen to you. You might get fined, of course. You might get arrested. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. Don't go there because that is not what I'm trying to talk about. Okay, that is not it. But seldom it would happen. But it would be very common, and it's even more common for a black person for a simple traffic arrest to be thrown to the ground and handcuffed. And I'm also not saying that a lot of black people in the United States, like here, like anywhere, would use that as an excuse to claim racism when, in many occasions, police was just trying to do their job. I'm also not saying that. You have to remember this, okay? I'm on the outside. I'm not. I'm not supporting any particular group. And if you think that you're white, so you're going to support the whites, I will just tell you this: you're an idiot, and you have no idea where I come from. And I have talked about it in my videos, so go back and watch them instead of making a fool out of yourself. And oh, you're using that as an excuse. No, I'm not using it as an excuse. I'm just telling you the truth. But right now, you have a woman that was shot in the face by an agent without any kind of justification. I've seen the video. Everyone has seen the video. She was not going over anyone. She was just passing by. She was following their orders, and when she did so, they used it as an excuse that she was trying to run over them when they were all in the side of the car. And that little twerp that is married with a Filipino wife, master race, shot her in the face, and she was still alive inside of that car, and they did not send for aid because they knew she would be a martyr. And right now you have, I think he was a medical assistant or doctor or something like that, that was protesting, and just because he had a weapon on him, like it is his right in the United States to carry a concealed weapon, they used that as an excuse to basically fusillate him and kill him, murder him. I say the words here, okay? I'm not monetized. So this is murder, both of these cases. And it's all in the footage. We can also see what happened. And you continue to have the government saying, oh, they were just doing their job. Their lives were in danger. And, oh, these people protesting in Minnesota, they are all terrorists. They are trying, oh, I'm going to have to bring in the Civil Unrest Act. I'm going to have to deploy troops there and this and that. So, where is the American dream? The American dream was an advertisement that the United States government used to have in order to bring in more and more settlers, especially from Europe and also from other parts of the world, but especially from Europe, in order to convince people that here, unlike in Europe, where you had you had strict social rules and strict space, okay, and strict areas in where you could make a living off. Come here to the United States, okay, and you will have a lot of space to explore, okay. You can have a big house, you can have a farm, you can do this and that. And while those settlers were coming in, American army and American scouts and whatever were exterminating the native population. It started simply enough, with diseases that they brought in. Then they started to do it systematically, like giving blankets, selling blankets infected with virus to the population, getting them addicted in alcohol, destroying social and ethnic connections, relocating people to places where they could not survive. And this is in the history books, and it's not enough. And it's not enough just to say, oh, the poor Indians. Oh, I'm part Indian because one of your grandmothers or great grandmothers was raped by a white guy or some shit like that. It's not enough. That is not enough. And I'm not talking about carrying that guilt forever and ever. No, I'm talking about writing things in the damn history books and stop with this shit of the American dream that never existed. That white picket fence, the house, the 3.5 kids, and the car, that shit never happened. Some people had it, yes. Yes, they had it. I'm not saying that. But the key issue is that the majority of the population did not have it. The majority of the population worked their asses off until they died, probably early, without having any of those benefits. The American dream is a bloody lie. And I'm saying this openly, without any kind of bias or whatever. I'm just going by logic. The American dream never happened. Ask the black person. Ask a black person. And some of them will have had that. They probably could not go to the same coffee shops or to the same restaurants as white people went. And probably when they went to the beach, even if there was no formal segregation, they would keep to themselves and stay away from the white people because something bad might happen to them. Okay? But the American dream never existed. It was a myth. It was an advertisement. It was something that was used abundantly during the Cold War, and that also that myth of America coming here to Europe and saving us from the Germans in this case. It was always the Germans in this case because look, I'm half German, so I have no issues in talking about it. Okay, part German. I have no issues talking about it. Ich bin halber Deutsch und ich verstehe das alles. Okay, but let's carry on. This was all a set of myths, a set of propaganda that people believed in right until the moment, right now, in which they are themselves are being the victims of the same type of violence that other people were being victims of. Americans only understood, those Americans that voted in Trump, I'm absolutely sure a lot of them right now, they are understanding that level of violence. Billy Bob down at the grocery store knows that if he goes out into the open and says, "Those ice bastards, they are kidnapping my neighbors," Billy Bob knows that he's going to have his ass shot. Billy Bob knows that if he gets his guns to defend his sovereignty, he's going to get shot. And this is what is happening right now. Billy Bob is discovering what you Americans call FAFO. Fuck around and find out. This is what is happening now. But while it was happening to other people in faraway lands, in the black neighborhood that you never went to, that you liked their music a lot, okay, and perhaps you even have a couple of kids with some black girl, maybe you even have a black wife, but you were still white, and your kids will still be half white, even if in the Americas that never seemed to matter a big deal. While it was happening to other people, it didn't matter. It didn't matter to you that Ukrainians are dying in Ukraine because your weak-ass presidents, Obama was weak too, in this aspect, make no man. And I even like the man, but I have to speak the truth. Okay, I'm not here to lie. Because you did not enforce the guarantees that were given to Ukraine when it gave up its nuclear weapons to Russia. Weakness. You are responsible for people dying in Ukraine right now. You are responsible for people dying in Gaza. You are responsible for it. Is the rest of the world not responsible too? No. You are failing to understand the point that I'm making. The rest of the world is also responsible. But let me tell you this. Who has the biggest army? Who had, I'm going to speak in the past now, had in this part. Who had the biggest economic leverage? Who could have shut down Russia in like that when they invaded Crimea? Who? Europe, that was doing business with Russia and completely energetically dependent on it to a point when they invaded Ukraine, and they had finally, these idiots discovered that this is enough. This guy is meaning business. We have to stop this. But meanwhile, in Crimea, people were expelled. People lost their homes. People lost their property, their freedom. It was all fine and dandy, as long as you could, as industries in Europe could have oil and gas pouring in from Russia. And the error of Putin was to not understand that he went too far. But That is the what happens to dictators everywhere. They go too far in one occasion or another, and they get fucked up, and they lose all of their power and their might because they are dictators, because they are narcissistic idiots, and because they have no understanding of human nature. They think they can bend human nature to their will and do whatever the hell they want. But Americans now, you are discovering that the American dream, it never happened. It never existed. It was a goal. And when I say it never existed, I'm not saying that a lot of people did not get their home, that a lot of pioneers didn't get their properties and their farmhouses and all of that. I'm not saying that. I'm not even saying that a lot of people benefited from it. What I'm trying to tell you is that the general idea that all that doctrine, that didn't exist. No, even Hitler was trying to do it in Europe with Lebensraum, with the freedom to expand for the German people. He was going to do it on Russia's back. He was going to kill Russians and other nationalities in order to find that living space here, just like Putin is trying to do right now, but he is killing his people instead of getting more room for them, room that they don't need. They are even in a demographic crisis that is going to shape the history of the world in the next 100 years, but that is a subject for another video. We are talking about the American dream in this one. So it would make me laugh if I found it amusing. It would make me laugh if I had any kind of schadenfreude about this. But it just makes me sad. Look, I don't care if that woman that was shot in the face, I don't care if she was black, if she was gay, if she was a bad person, if she was not a nice person. I don't give a fuck about that. What I care about is that a woman, a mother, a soccer mom, like you Americans like to say, was shot in the face by someone cosplaying as an agent. Look, these guys are acting like SIA troops in 1933 Germany. People usually have this idea: oh, Hitler rose to power, he gathered all the Jews, he sent them to the gas chambers, and then he went to war to the rest of Europe, and that is it. But no, this started slowly. And if you had the decency and the intelligence to look at some history, or even talk with a German person that also learns this in school like we do, you would understand that this started slowly. First, it started by words. Then it started by blaming. Then it started by banning Jews from doing job A or job B or whatever, okay? Then it started by intimidating Jewish business, by sticking Stars of David in their businesses, okay? Then it started with robbing, burning, raping, doing all the good things they like to do. Good things for them, yes. Very manly, very Ubermensch, okay? And then it became a systematic system of terminating any opposition to the regime. And then they were fighting a war with the entirety of Europe. And then when they were getting tired, the Americans point their machine after Pearl Harbor. They point their machine to Europe and to Japan. It was like beating up a tired person. This is another subject for another video, like I have told you, but we will talk about this. And then I hear all these people talk, oh, it's the end of the American dream. Oh, look at this, it's the rise of fascism. Fascism has been rising in the United States for a long time. When you confuse freedom of speech with the freedom to put a swastika in a flag and march down the road saying "Sie Heil," when you confuse freedom of speech with that, when you confuse freedom of speech with someone might not like to speak with their black neighbor and not speaking with him, and instead of not speaking with the black neighbor, beating him up, and then the police arriving and jailing the black guy because the neighbor was only defending himself because he was white, he could do no harm. And look, I tell you this again, ask your black neighbors how it happened. I'm not saying to believe everything they say, because, as I said, also, a lot of them also use that as an excuse for their own failures, because they are humans, just like you idiot. They are people like you. You understand? They just have a little less, a little more, in this case, melanin than you. And just ask them. And then you come to me and talk with me about the American dream. Tell me how your grandfather came from how your great grandfather came from Ireland, so you're Irish apparently, and they settled in a western town and they built their house with their bare hands and did this and did that. Come and talk with me about, and I will ask you, okay, what Indian tribe lived in the area your great grandpappy settled? Did he have any slaves? No, he didn't. Good for him. At least he has that. That has an extra point. But do you understand this? And you don't understand this. You don't talk about it. You don't take it into account when you're doing your reasoning by saying when you are saying the American dream is over, you are not taking into account that that dream didn't exist. You could say the idea of the American dream is dying. That would be correct. But when you affirm this, you are being entitled, and you are being rather stupid, sorry, or ignorant. Ignorant. I would say ignorant because an ignorant person does not know something, but they can be educated. And a stupid person knows that something is wrong or incorrect, and they still insist in their narrative. That is the biggest difference. A difference that you should also make. But let's continue. And now, both parties are in a zugzwang. Talking about chess. But they are in both parties, both the protesters and ICE and Trump, they are in a situation that if they stop, they lose. If they continue, they lose. Because the protesters, the more you protest, the more violent they are going to become to you. And if you start protesting, then they will continue to be more violent to you. And the American people only have to blame themselves for reaching this point. Because people keep telling me, oh, a lot of people stayed at home, a lot of people were stupid enough to believe in him. Well, that is true. But why did it happen? I never see the why. Why did people voted for a guy that said, I heard him, the entirety of Europe heard him, day one I'm going to be a dictator. Or that he grabs women by their genitals whenever he can, whenever he wants, because he's white and rich. Or that did all the things that he did that you know. And then you sit there and you tell me the American dream is over. The American dream was over long before this guy came to power. Because it never existed. Then I'm going to talk about this in another video about this the policy, the idea of working and of time for yourself in Europe. But the moment the moment workers in the United States stopped fighting for their rights and conformed, the American dream was over. When you accepted that cushy job and more hours so that you can give the company more profit, when you accepted that condition, that way of working, as the hustle, yes, it's good to have hustle, yes, 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 yes. When you are profiting nothing, the guy getting the new Ferrari, it's your boss, not you. You are going to get a pat in the back and a golden watch. When you forfeited that, for a handful of nothing, of a dream, you are to blame. But I don't look. I'm going to mention a name. The only person I have heard talking about this and talking about this accountability is Josh from the Enemy Within. It's the only person up till now that I heard talking about this, recognizing it. All of the other Democratic YouTubers that I have heard, that I saw, including Midas Touch, including Texas Paul, all of them, I'm mentioning names right now so that you can go there and listen. I didn't hear them talking about it. And I'm not saying these people that I mentioned are doing a bad job. That is not what I'm saying. What I'm trying to tell you is that they are not going to the root of the problem. And look, if I was in the United States, I would vote Democratic. Massively. Because that would be the only way of getting a halfway decent government in place that I could work with, or work on to end this shit. Because you see, it's the only way to go for it. We have to have a new way of seeing things, or else it's complete decadence. You know, Romans was still thought they lived in an empire up until the last emperor, the king. Go and see your history. But the king of the Ostrogoths, the last emperor that was still the emperor of the Roman Empire, but that the Goth leader, the Ostrogoth leader, he didn't even bother killing him. He sent him off to his estate in Ravenna, and told him, you are no longer the emperor, and he became just a simple noble family that got lost in history. But up until that time, up until the end of the Western Roman Empire, people still believed they lived in an empire. They still believed that the Roman legions, the Roman legions, they are still defending the borders and whatever. Okay, we still have Gaul. There were still people believing in that. There were still people living in that illusion. And Americans right now, you are living in that illusion. You are living in the illusion that everything is all right. And look, I'm not going as far as saying it's already over, nothing can be done about it. Look, I'm not going that far. What I'm trying to tell you is that instead of running away from it, you are running towards the precipice. Because I'm seeing people protesting in Minnesota, but I'm not seeing people protest at the same time in other cities. Oh, it's the media, they don't transmit it, okay? See where we are, it's called the internet. You could be publishing those videos to multiple platforms. Oh, they are censoring us. Okay, what you want me to do? Send me the pictures. Send me your videos. I'm I'm being honest, okay? During this week, I will watch them. And if they are not AI slop, but send it. Look. Let me be even easier for you. Write down in the comments. Write down in the comments what you are experiencing, and I will make a video about your comments. I will bring them up. I won't show your name. Don't worry. Okay, because privacy. But I will make if there are enough comments, I will make a video about it, and I will tell people your story. You want to talk with me about how you went to the, I don't know, to 7-Eleven and you saw ICE agents beating down a Latino patron or worker or whatever and drag him away? Write it down in the comments. I'm being serious. Write it down in the comments. Or if you know someone, tell him, that person, to come here to the comment sections and write down about it. Well, alright. I promised myself I would not make big ranty videos so that I can put out more content. This is the second or third video I'm recording today. The Sunday, the 25th of January. What I'm trying to tell you is this. That idea of an American dream, it existed. Okay? And it's a common denominator, okay? People here in Portugal also had the Brazilian dream, okay? Where they could go to Brazil, they could set up a business and get wealthy or whatever. And right now Brazilians have the Portuguese dream, where they can come here to Portugal and go around in Europe, okay, and have the business here and do all the things without any kind of work. People want better conditions. Few of them want to work for them. Now, thank you very much for listening to my rant. Again, like I said, in the comment sections, write down your comments about what you have been witnessing with ICE, and I will make a video where I will present the comments. I will not show the names, of course. Okay, so you are safe here. I will not show your name, and I will make a video about it, and we are going to talk about your experiences. Now, thank you very much for listening to me. If you are in the United States, stay safe and start doing something about it. This is all I'm going to say. I'm not I'm not a supporter of violence, but I'm a supporter of not letting anyone kick you down. All that I'm going to say, because like I said, I don't believe violence is the solution for anything, but you have to do something. A man, like you Americans say, a man has to do what a man has to do. Now, stay safe, or a woman has to do what a woman has to do, okay? I'm not that type of guy. Alright, stay safe, and I hope to catch you all in the next one.